you trying to do for real? For real.
Cosmic, psychedelic funk is what I came to do. Yep. Hi. I'm soul by funky. Hey. Soul by funky. Hi. I'm soul by cosmic soul.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to yet another episode of the Authors Authority Lounge, which is the official TV show for authors. We're super excited to yet have another episode in the books. So I am your host, Dr. Takara Nicole, aka the Identity Architect. And for today, and maybe for today only, we're testing this thing, a co-host with us. His name is Timothy Moore. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. My name is Timothy Moore, aka the Clarity Doctor, and I'm excited to be here.
Amazing. So can you go ahead and do as we talked about?
Do as we talked about. I love how she did it on the books, and that was good. I saw that plug.
Great, right?
You know, that was kind of shocking.
On the books. It is an authorship TV show. Just
that was good.
On the books.
Okay. All right. So today we have an amazing guest. I met him at a networking meeting, and immediately we vibed. The energy was great. So I said, you know what? You got to come on the show. And I just want to welcome Arthur Fratelli.
Yes,
The
thrilled
author.
to be here. That's right. Thank you for having me.
Author, yes. So we love this TV show for so many reasons. We believe that authorship is an art that some feel like doesn't exist. And what I mean by that is they feel like, oh, I'm an author, but instead of seeing themselves as an author and. So let's talk about who you are as an author.
Right. Absolutely. So I have an interesting journey because I've gone from amazing Arthur to amazing author. My background is in magic and hypnosis and juggling and all sorts of arts, crafts, disciplines, and skills. Martial arts and everything from balancing to learning how to spin tops that are from Mexico called they're called boleros and also called trompos, and learning things like that because my writing talks about the connection between the brain and the body and building a motor in the back of our heads to handle an art, craft, discipline, skill.
Wow.
Because my writing, I want to bring people out of thinking about the past where there's depression and worried about their future where there's anxiety
Love that.
and be in the only moment we ever know, now.
Yeah.
And you don't need drugs to do it from the pharmaceutical companies. You don't need anything but something you love to do.
Yeah.
I feel like depression and anxiety is our call to create, see what we can become. And I think that gets lost. So my books are to try to bring that out of people, to put down the screens, get away from social media and go within yourself by immersing yourself in something. That's my message.
Love that.
That's good. No, I'm sitting here on the edge of my seat just like you were. I'm just like, look, let's lean in.
Right.
No, but that was good. Continue. So when did you feel like you first got your call to be an author?
So it's funny you say it because I remember when I was a little kid, I heard a neighbor use the idiomatic expression, not in my book. So when you're having a conversation, someone says, well, that's not what I believe. That's not it. Not according to my book.
Yeah.
I thought at like 8 years old, oh my gosh, we're all supposed to be writing a book.
Oh.
Wow.
We all have to write a book. And no one told me. I didn't know about this.
Wow.
So it took me a while to realize, oh, that's just an expression people use. But I started thinking ever since that age, if I was to write a book, what would I write it about?
Yeah.
So in third grade, we had an amazing magic show at St. Gerald's in Ralston, and the magician levitated. Well, the teacher, my third grade teacher, Mrs. Balmer, she forgot to take us the long way to lunch that day because the short way would lead you behind the curtain where the levitation took place.
Wow.
I was the line leader that day.
Wow.
Muscle memory, she walks us down the stairs, opens the door, and I'm standing there looking. Whoa, anyone can do this. It's not real magic.
Yeah.
So I started viewing the world differently that day. And I started realizing it's puzzles, it's engineering, it's architecture, it's knowing things. And how do you know things? By immersion. You immerse yourself. And through the years, I've just dipped my toe into as many ponds as I could. And there's a great quote from the movie The Princess Bride, where the dread pirate Roberts, who's Wesley, he says, I spent all my years learning anything from anyone who is willing to teach me. And I thought,
wow.
be so busy being busy, you don't have time to be depressed or anxious.
That's good.
And you meet people along your journey.
Yeah.
When you become a magician, you meet other people who think like that. And then when you become a speaker, you learn to speak by watching. You immerse yourself in these little subcultures of what we have. So that's what my books bring to life, is that call, hopefully, to get you as the reader to get out there.
Wow.
That's so amazing. I mean, you said so much in a short amount of time. And when you think about our childhood, it really impacts what we do later on in life. And, you know, like for me, I became an author at the age of 7 and didn't realize it. You know, it was more so of my mom putting me on punishment for me doing something that I didn't think was so bad. But according to her book, it was. And so I would just write about her in my diary. And then my rant started me, you know, creating short stories from that. And so now 14-time author. So that here you are, you know, talking about your childhood. And I think a lot of people don't see their potential within their lives as something that was rooted in their childhood.
Right.
So how many books have you authored to date?
So my first book I've written is called Narcissist Gonna Narce. Because
I remember you telling me about
I told you a little
this.
bit. Player's gonna play, hater's gonna hate. So what are narcissists gonna do? They're gonna narc. And I talk about how narcissism in our culture is just inherent. In this first book, I explore how we've come to this point where we are. From MTV switching from the artist's interview and the pop culture zeitgeist that it provided, switching to reality TV. Drama, drama, drama. Which then set a blueprint for all of our kids watching it as they grow up, and the adults. And if you notice the cable landscape at MTV it changed everything on cable TV.
For sure.
History Channel went from let's find out why fascism came to be to aliens did it, you know, and all this. And the whole culture, A&E went from interviews with the important artists and people behind Broadway to drama behind the scenes. Because, and there's no writers. Or so, to me, I tackled this in my first book on narcissism about how it is inherent in the culture, but now it's amplified because of cell phones. And our world, we need to go back to that because like you said, you were a writer as a child. You realize this. Our school system is not designed to tell kids they are writers. Right. But they are.
Yeah.
All of us can write. But the school system is designed from 1880s Prussian system of getting us smart enough to work in a factory. They don't want you to realize you're a creator. You can go write your story. So that Narcissist book's the first one. Then I've got a series called What the Blank Knows, What the Magician Knows, What the Hypnotist Knows, What the Juggler Knows. And it's not about actual tricks, it's about how realizing that the magician's tools, the hypnotist tools, they're being used all around us in society and everything, from advertising and marketing.
Yes.
We're all being fooled by magic.
Yes.
Look over here, everybody, here's what you need, when really you don't. It's a big motion to hide a little motion.
Yeah.
And that's a magic principle in the book, is a big motion hides a little motion. So I illustrate that, but on a capitalist scale that we see. We're all buying stuff we don't need, and we're all trapped instead of being an artist or a writer, whatever it is. But and then what the hypnotist knows, same thing, how we use hypnosis. It's used against us to whittle messages down to their basic core, and then you repeat it over and over and over until you believe it's who you are. Yeah. I am an energy drinker. I drink energy drinks, and I only drink this brand. This is what hypnosis does with marketing and advertising. And I talk a lot about Edward Bernays. He's the one who's kind of responsible for modern marketing in that book. And then the Juggler book is the same thing. The Juggler book's about repetition, about putting in the time and showing up over and over and what you learn. But the book I'm most proud of is coming out with Omaha Publishing. It's called The System, Mythologizing Your Past, Forging Your Future, Finally Folding the Laundry.
Say that one more time.
Yep, it's called The System.
Yeah.
Mythologizing Your Past, Forging Your Future, and Finally Folding the Laundry.
That's so good.
It's not a bad title, but it kind of illustrates that you reframe what you've been through.
Right.
Everything you've been through doesn't make you a victim. You've got to use it to create.
Yeah.
Whatever that means to you.
Right.
Then you realize you're not stuck thinking about the past anymore. And then you realize, I can create my future.
Yes.
But I'm always going to be in the now folding laundry. You're always doing something in the moment. And how do you get there? And there's a great quote by William Blake. He says, "The fool who persists in his folly will soon become wise." And every time you try to learn something and you watch someone struggle and then eventually get it, and this is from boxing to dance to anything, confidence comes from competence. And I see it over and over when I teach my children how to juggle or do magic or anything. Yeah. They light up, they realize, I can learn. So that's what this book is. It's my most recent book. It's a call to action to realize the symbols are all around us in cards. I use a deck of cards exclusively to talk about what each symbol represents, to subconsciously guide you to do what you want. And that's what all stories are anyway. When we read a book or watch a movie, these are all calls to action. What are you doing to be heroic, to take the chances and be brave, you know?
What is people's response typically when you introduce these concepts overall, just like with the magic, the hypnosis, and all being hypnotized, kind of like the Matrix idea?
Yeah.
Do people's eyes kind of gloss over and be like, what the heck? Or are they really receptive?
I hope not. I like
in
to
this
think that-
day and age.
Right. Well, that's the thing. And we have these short attention spans in this day and age. So to me, the magic, if you can get someone to laugh, you can get them to open your mind, right? They'll open their mind if they laugh. And the shortest distance between people is laughter. Like if I can get you to laugh, we connect, we're on the same frequency. But from then, I feel people listen best while watching. So when I present these, in fact, I brought my box of cards. So when I present, I always talk about the fact that the symbolism is hidden all around us. I'll do that one more time because neither of you clapped.
Oh, okay, got it.
I'm clapping in my head.
I used to play basketball in college. Are you clapping for me going to college? Thank you.
Did you finish? That's the question.
I got a scholarship playing basketball. You ever heard of University of Phoenix Online?
Oh, God.
He cracks jokes too, guys.
Attempts at jokes. Class of 2002 represent. I would have been class of 2001, but I had dial-up internet, so it took forever. So check it out. The symbolism of the cards, I break this down. There's 52 cards in the box. How many weeks are in the year? 52. You add up the values of these cards, 365. If you add up all the values, that's how many days are in the year. 4 seasons, 4 suits. Shut up. That's just the beginning. Always comes with advertising cards, and then it always arrives with jokers. Now, what we don't realize is the symbolism behind these is really interesting. Because every time, and I'm going to tell you how I got into this. I had surgery on my wrists, and I was so weak I couldn't even open the door. It was hard to get my hand around the door. So I decided I'm going to get my hands strong, and I'm going to do it by learning how to do the one-handed shuffle, where you take all 52 cards, you split them in half, and you shuffle them. Now, I couldn't even get the cards to split like that. Just doing that was almost impossible. But I decided to push through the failure just to do that. The hearts, the hearts means fail. Do what you love. If you're doing what you love, you don't mind failing. But the flip side of that is the diamonds. You have to have focus. What's your goal? My goal was to learn the one-handed shuffle. So I watched a video of my mentor. That's the clubs. The clubs is the mentor, your teacher. Look at it like a staff, like a shepherd. These are your teachers, your coaches. So I watched a video of a magician named Ricky Jay. And this was popular in the 1990s. He was on HBO. I had a VHS tape. I watched him as he'd take those cards. And I'd push through the failure to get to this point, the focus to make it to this point. Now, this had taken weeks. Finally, I'm lining them up, and I'm watching Ricky Jay. Now, he's got his cards face up like this. And my cards will not go in, no matter what. Weeks, my muscles are finally strong, but they will not go in. No matter what, they will not slide together. Because I didn't know the joker. I needed someone who had the foresight to tell me, Arthur, you're using a deck of cards that's 20 years newer than the cards Ricky Jay has. Because when Ricky Jay used cards from the 90s, they were cut at the factory so they would shuffle face up. I'd spent weeks trying to get these cards to shuffle. I found someone who had foresight, the joker, someone who'd been through the system, who'd done the failure, the focus, the flow, and put in the time to get fulfillment. Look at that. It's a spear tip or a tip of an arrow. That's the warrior in us, that only you can do the work. That phone call to my friend, he said, turn those cards upside down and then try it. I'd already failed, that's the hearts. I'd already pushed through the focus, that's the diamonds. I'd had my teacher, the clubs, put in the time with the spades to get fulfillment, and the only thing I was missing was an expert. Someone who knew the entire system better than me. Let's see. I'm supposed to be like a Inigo Montoya where I can do it with both hands. That's a Princess Bride reference there for any of the viewers who didn't catch it. There it is.
Wow.
Wow.
So that's a journey that you go on when you learn something.
Now that's a clap worthy.
And it's like that with every journey you go on. You got pushed through the failure. That's when most people quit. You go, this is hard. I stink. Nobody wants to look the fool. The fool who persists in his folly will soon become wise. I picked up cards for weeks. They were all over the house, the car, everywhere. But eventually I pushed through.
Wow.
Yeah, so focus, flow, failure, focus, flow, fulfillment, and finally foresight of being the one who understands the whole system. And that's true no matter what you do.
That's so cool. I've never seen a deck of cards broken down.
Well, I'm not supposed to be telling you muggles this stuff. It's magic stuff.
But the one thing that I know that people are curious about, two things. It's a twofold question. One, when did you realize that you wanted to be an author?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah. And then two, how did you come up with the concepts that you did to put those in books?
Right.
So, quick question. So, third grade was
No, I want my question.
no. I mean, I just wanted to tie that to the other question because you said
I'm not going to remember to ask you a question.
no. He remembers.
I'll remember.
Okay.
He remembers.
Just
So,
interrupting my show. Strike one.
strike one. I never invite me again.
Well, one and a
So,
half.
third grade was when you first thought about being an author. Is that? I just clarity.
Yeah,
And
that's
then-
when I first thought, the idea of that you could write a book popped in my head when I was a little kid in 8th grade. I thought, oh, a book. And then I started thinking.
Different
how
when can you do
Yes,
it?
you know what? I felt in 2019, in August of 2019, I had something uploaded to me. On the way, I was flying from Washington State back to Nebraska, and I was walking through the airport and just started uploading all these ideas. And I had to scramble. I did talk to text on my phone until my phone was dead, and I had to plug it in at the next airport. It was just, it was an unleashing, but it was, all artists take chaos and assemble order. No matter what you do, chaos meaning anything is possible. If you're a musician at a piano, that's infinity. You could do anything with those keys.
For sure.
But you've got to give it order and form that we understand. Well, that's what a writer does.
Yeah.
So I've got all these books in my brain, and slowly I'm trying to filter them into a coherent thing that you can understand. And that's where failure, focus, flow, fulfillment. I finally got a chapter that made sense. I got a chapter done. I feel great. Then eventually, I think this book's good enough. And they say you get better by doing lots of things, not one thing once and getting good. So I'm just trying to get as many books out there. And eventually, by the time people actually read one, maybe it'll be good. It's my goal, get used to being bad. And eventually, it's unreasonable to fail because you've put out so much work.
So 2019 is when you started
Yes,
implementing.
August of 2019, absolutely.
you
I
remember
started
that.
it was something just popped into me. It goes, here you go. Here's all these ideas from 30 years, almost 30 years of traveling and doing performances and presentations. And I'm a former teacher. I'm a hypnotherapist. I went to Second City, Chicago for comedy theory writing, improvisation. I was on Last Comic Standing. All these experiences
Really?
come together.
Wow.
Yeah, all these experiences come together, and then it's like you've got to get them out somehow. So
Yeah.
you write or what, and all musicians are this way. They've gone through great anguish, and then they've got to write music. You
For
know?
sure.
So yeah, if you want to write a book, you should have some experiences, I suppose, or you don't have much to write about.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I do.
So that upload was just like a brain dump, nothing coherent, nothing cohesive.
I'll tell
just
you,
a bunch of stuff.
It was like a flow of consciousness, and I was like, I'm smart enough to know that if I think I'll remember it later, I will not.
Gotcha. Right.
Because we all know this. Oh, that's such a good idea. I'll remember that after this meeting.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're hit with so many decisions and everything, you forgot it. So.
For sure. Wow. So out of your 3 books that you've written, is it 3 or 4?
So I've got 3 in the What the Blank Knows series, but
Fourth
only
is
1 has been released. And then,
Okay.
I've got the Narcissist book, and my 3rd book with Omaha Publishing is The System. So technically 5 books right now.
So I have 5 books. Which one would you say has been your favorite thus far?
My favorite is my upcoming young adult fiction series I've got about taking place in Omaha in the 80s.
Oh, wow.
And I grew up in Omaha. I've got so many great stories about cruising Dodge Street when the kids used to drag race and jumping bikes over, dirt jumps all over Omaha and just the chaos and trouble. This is before screens, so kids got in trouble, and that's what it's about. So that's my favorite by far, but that's not ready yet. That's next year, maybe 2. But my favorite book of the ones I've got, I'm really proud of The System because I feel like.
I knew you were going to say that.
Did you? Yeah. Well, I'm really proud of that because I feel like I've got a lot of my personal stories about my video game addiction. Like I struggled with video game addiction like you can't believe. Like 3 separate times in my life, like it has absorbed my life, and I can look back and say honestly, it was a good thing because now I can share that message with other people who say, you know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So the video game addiction. So starting like what? Defender, Miss Pac-Man, back then, and then all the way up to the newer games or just the older games?
Because those games you can walk away from without any investment. It's these games. It's these games that are like a quixotic Joseph Campbell, Hero's Journey. That's this zeitgeist we all share, where it's this shared cultural consciousness of dragons and fighting epic battles where you're a wizard or a warrior. So my first game was called Wizardry, where you build a character. This is 1986. It's a green screen, no graphics, like very little graphics, like a door. And you use your imagination, but you build your characters and they get better over time and stronger. So you're invested in them. Well, so I was addicted to that big time. But then a game came out called World of Warcraft.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
In 2006, I couldn't stop. Why would you want to? You're flying on a dragon and you're fighting all these bad guys. And why would you want to go to the real world when I'm with Tolkien and Lord of the Rings, essentially?
Yeah.
And there's a reason those games are addictive. It's because it calls you on your hero's journey. The reason people read all those Greek mythological stories was because it's supposed to inspire you to be like Hercules, right? And it's supposed to, so all these stories from Harry Potter to Star Wars to everything, it's all that hero's journey. Well, I felt like that's why those video games were so addictive. And I recognized it. I said, that's why. It's because I want to be those people. And then I realized, wait a second. I can take that same time that I was putting in that and put it in me.
Yes.
And I can become the person writing these stories. And I can be the one doing the magic on stage or whatever. Or at one point I was really into skateboarding or bicycling. But those are things you do by yourself.
Yeah.
And people don't want to be alone.
That's true.
They're uncomfortable with who they are when there's no one to tell them.
That's exactly true.
So I'm hoping my books call people to say, it's okay to be who I am and explore that by solidarity.
Right.
Think of every great religious leader or philosophical leader, or philosopher or whatever. They've spent a lot of time alone. And what does Matthew 6:7 say? It says, when you pray, Matthew 6:7 says, when you pray, close the door and do it alone. And I always thought, ooh, that's deep, because you find out who you are when you're alone.
You do. That's so good.
Yep.
We have almost about 5 minutes left in the show, and I definitely want to make sure that we give you an opportunity to share where people can find you, where they can find your books, all those
Absolutely.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, my website is amazingarthur.com. And when you go there, I've got all sorts of things, my blog, my books, some hypnosis MP3s. You'll see videos of me in action and videos of the audience reacting. And it's just fun. And you can surrender your Runza loyalty points to me. If you don't use your Runza loyalty points, I will use them.
And he's very serious about that as well.
Yum.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do a quick psychic thing with you guys? I can
No,
show you.
no.
You don't want to see any of my magic tricks or
No,
anything? Okay.
I have another, we have another episode.
You have another, oh, got it. I was going to say,
and
okay.
I want to make sure that I'm very coherent
Okay.
and Takara Steele when we record this, and not off in some other world, some other person showing
With
up.
dragons.
Right.
Yeah,
you know, way out there. You got something?
Well, no, this was just great. That hero's journey just really touched me, you know, and just because I had that same challenge, just the whole fantasy world, and just being able to come out of the fantasy world into reality. Yeah. That was just the hardest journey. And just the video games, all that, the comic books, it put me in that place where, like you said, I couldn't operate in the real world because it was so real.
It's a very real thing.
It was so real. And like you said, it was the biggest thing is I wanted to be a hero.
Right.
And now I get to be the hero in my own story. So.
That's right. And you've got to do that little pivot in the way you think and get that brain to realize these are calls to action and symbolism. It's not to just sit on the couch. To me, the couch is the dragon. That is the couch is your opponent, because comfort just tells you, hey, you're good enough. You don't have to find out who you could really be if you put in the time.
Yeah, why not?
That's so good.
Sit here.
Yep.
So what would you say to people that are dibba-dabbling, kind of playing around with the idea of becoming an author? What would you say to them?
I'd say that's ideal if you're doing that sort of thing where you're, what'd you say, dibbling and dabbling?
Dabbling,
I like that. So you're probably a dibbler and dabbler about everything, which is perfect, because if you're a writer, you want to have experiences from every place you could possibly go and bring them to your funnel and write. Take that chaos of the world like artists do, take all the chaos and funnel it into something. Yeah. That's where stories come from, fiction, nonfiction, you name it, you know, that's where you get all these great ideas. The idea of, there's been so much written about that, is you don't want to be an expert in one field You want to know a little bit about everything.
Yeah, that's so good.
Especially when you're a writer, I think. And then you can always go deeper. You can immerse yourself and go, hey, I want to know more about this.
Exactly.
It's what gives the books the texture and the grit and the depth of, I take you on a journey of what the symbolism of the cards means, you know, and how it applies to you. You don't have to be a magician. In fact, it's better if you're not, because you think from a different point of view once you've had a chance to filter it through my books.
I think the important takeaway that you've given us is to apply it all and don't be afraid to fail.
Yes. In fact, rush towards it, because that means you're trying new things if you're failing. But that short-term goal, the reason the diamonds is so important is because it's a short-term goals. If a step seems too big, make little steps.
Yeah.
Like with my shuffling, I couldn't split the cards, so I had to get less cards and practice with those. And then finally the strength is there. Now I can do this and that, and then I can do both hands. And eventually you look back and go, it has been a journey. There was a time I couldn't do any of that.
You couldn't do any of that. And I think that's really important for authors to understand, and even those that are inspiring to be an author. Start somewhere, and understanding that failing doesn't, failing qualifies you to become an author.
It's the gatekeeper.
Man, that's deep. Because it allows for people to understand, like, people do want to listen to your failures.
Yeah.
Because we fail all the time. And so sometimes people that, well, I am a failure because I'm failing. No, do something with that.
Yeah.
And you definitely shared that experience with us today.
There's no hero's journey where you're just born on third base, you know? It's like, no, you want to be the one who's like overcoming the odds. That's the one they write stories about.
That's the one that they write stories about. Well, thank you so much for taking time to come.
Wow.
I am like soaking it all in. I'm sure you guys as the audience are soaking it all in. Make sure you're following author. Say that again, where they can
Arthur,
follow you.
yep. AmazingArthur.com.
Amazing
I'm also
Arthur.
on all the social media, whatever your addiction is. Mix up your algorithm by following me. I'm on what? The InstaChat, the Snapgram, Farmers Only, whatever. I'm all over this.
And there we are. Thanks so much for tuning in to yet another episode of the Authors Authority Lounge. Until next time, see you soon.
Peace.
What you trying to do for real? For real.
Cosmic psychedelic funk is what I came to do.